From running multiple A/B experiments at Rapido to creating ML models at Microsoft, Pallavi's journey is really inspiring. She's not only a data scientist, but a econometrician, academic researcher, and a part-time writer as well. She has authored two books, The Restaurant and Tsuyoi. Today we will be talking about her journey, her hacks, her learnings, and what does it truly takes to take the leap into the world's top tech companies. Let's get right into it. So hey everyone, we have Pallavi here with us. She's a data scientist at Microsoft. She has a lot of experience over the years in data analytics, being an academic researcher, and then finally data scientist at Microsoft. So, Pallavi, over to you. Tell us more about your journey. How has it been? How did you land here at being a data scientist at Microsoft?
Yeah, thanks, Nipun. Thanks for the introduction. And yeah, hi everyone. As Nipun has already introduced me, um, I think my journey starts from my bachelor's, which is where I did my bachelor's in computer science from VIT, Vellore Institute of Technology. And during my third year itself, I got quite interested into research, which was majorly towards big data because that is, I think it was around 2012 or 2013, and the uh, big data was the talk.
Right.
And at that time, I kind of like worked on few of the papers, and the final paper, which like my final year project, also it got published into it was on the neighborhood rough sets. So I co-authored. I was a co-author on that paper, and it was published like the guidance was from our professor, Dr. B.K. Tripathi. He was a pioneer in our university, our college for the computer science, who was taking a lot of researches in that direction of the rough sets and neighborhood rough sets, which was also becoming very much popular when it comes to like fuzzy sets, rough sets, and all that in the direction of the big data. And post that particular research and the paper, um, I uh, I got an opportunity to work as like data engineer at Ericsson, and that was once again like a lot of a lot of opportunity to work on like that time it was coming Hadoop was very popular. So
Right.
and then yeah, and then cloud data and then MapR and all those have come. So got an opportunity from the tech side to work on all this, and of course worked on few of the products at
Was
Ericsson.
this campus placement?
Yes, it was a campus placement. So,
Got it.
yeah, so I got placed into like four companies and I chose Ericsson because it was on big data. So, yeah, and I
Oh,
was posted
interesting.
in Chennai. Yeah. So I was posted in Chennai and I worked there for almost like 3 years, roughly, like 2 years, I think 10 months or something around that. And then post that, I always had this thing like where, since I was very much interested into data, I had like a lot of interest into social science also. So combination of that, so I applied for my master's, which was in US, um, where I did my master's in public policy analysis from Arizona State University. There I got like as everybody says, the US is a land of opportunities. So I got a lot of opportunities, to be honest, to work on different projects and work with some of the best mindsets. Just learned. That time I was new to everything, so I just learned like how data science is applied in various domains, whether it's urban planning, whether it's life sciences, whether it's anything like whether it's law, because I have also worked for Earth Law Center as an intern, and how they do different kind of literature reviews and how they form what they in public policy also it's not known as data science, but it is known as evidence-based policy, where you provide data points to formulate your ground in that. So there I got couple of internship opportunities. One was the research assistant at Center for Biodiversity Outcomes. There which is very popular at Arizona State University. It is a center which is developed by Dr. Lay. She was managing that time, and um,
Okay.
I worked under Dr. Christine, is her name, Krista. So I worked under her and I worked on one paper which is very popular, Dr. Anthony Waldron paper, where he's one of the leading conservation scientists. And extensively he had worked on advanced statistical modeling, so got an opportunity a lot to learn more and more. I won't say the contribution, I would say learn more and more
Got it.
on what is actually GAMS based model, and what is a binomial model, what is like different kind of modelings there. And that time they were using R. R was very popular. In my master's, I was also taught STATA. Like any economics student will be knowing STATA, which is very, very
Right.
popular. And some of the projects which I did on the civil side, like urban planning side and all, they used SPSS, so had a little bit of hands-on on that also. And yeah, there I would say that like later part of that, my contribution lied in that I created a kind of like a tool, which I think later on went and got into IUC, and like it is currently, I think that particular model and everything is being used by Government of Colombia. That was the last update which I had. So yeah, and then of course that I also interned at Earth Law Center, and through that I got into two projects. One was related with Ecuador rights, and there I had to do the kind of like economic research kind of things which you do, which is more on the qualitative side of data analysis. Plus, I also did a United Nations project where I worked with United Nations harmony with nature. So there also it was more on like reporting, how you basically do a reporting, do a storytelling, and so forth. So that was my project there at Earth Law Center. It was more towards the law side, how they do the data analysis, which is kind of like a mixed approach, qualitative and then extracting the quantitative data as well. And they term it as like evidence based. So that was the thing. And then I got a scholarship from Maricopa County. And today is they are also celebrating 10 years reception. It's called MacLips. And I think I was the second international student to get that. So I worked at Department of Environmental Services
Wow, that's
for
great.
yeah. So yeah, it was very fun experience. Like it was more on leadership side, managerial side. So yeah, it was a great experience. Like how more on like public administration side, which was related with my master's. One of the projects which was taken by um, uh, his name is Dr. Deve. He took that project and he has a Center for Urban Innovation, and through
Right.
that it was kind of like analysis on like how many bills government, like there is a preemption or like empowering of the bills or disempowering of the bills happen. So it was also like finally a project with a group of like three people.
What does
And
that mean exactly? Empowering of bills
so
and disempowering.
so basically, sometimes what happens that, as we know, that in politics, right? That is also a data science project. It was like
Right.
data-driven project. Sometimes what happens is that, like many times, there is a lobby which goes on, or there is a politics. Because of that, you try to not let a particular bill pass in the
Okay.
whatever the legislature. Let's take in term of Indian sense. Let's say if any of the bills are not getting passed at a state level, there is a state level bills that needs to
Right.
be passed, but you're not passing it. Let's say Karnataka says that I don't want to pass any of the water bills because Karnataka needs water. So how many such different kind of domain bills which are being disempowered because of the political or any other variables which exist. So the project
Okay.
was more on like the social science, but yeah, it was. So my contribution lied was the scraping of the entire bills for the 10 years, and then doing the analysis on top of that, and then doing modeling, which was a normal regression model, and so forth, and then categorizing, and then going forward with that. So it was a kind of like
Interesting.
a data science project, you can say, and yeah, and data analysis, because you are analyzing those bills, and also you are making
Right.
all those decision trees, um, which bills will categorize into what. So those kind of project it was. So yeah, it was a group of 4 people we were doing all that. So that was my master's. I really enjoyed it. And I worked in as a researcher once again at US for another year. And after post that, I came back to India, which was during COVID. I think it was 2020 May or June, something like that. Yeah, and
Okay.
I joined Rapido as a senior data analyst, where I worked majorly on the pricing part of the product, which is, I mean, whenever you use a Rapido app, when you see, when you
Right.
estimate a fare and all, yeah. So that was my major portion of my work went into the pricing. I decided to move to Microsoft, like not Microsoft, but to companies like, it was my dream to at least work in one of the marketplace companies. So yeah, just applied to a couple of the companies.
Inspiring. Like you have such a holistic experience in the whole data ecosystem from being a data engineer to having multiple data science roles in the US and working on both qualitative and quantitative side of things. One thing I wanted to ask, like most of us analysts work on the quantitative side of things. So, how different is the qualitative analysis, let's say from quantitative analysis? What are the like type of things that you are doing over there that is completely different? So, can you please elaborate on that?
I think in qu so I think in quantitative you just go by data, like right, like data speaks kind of thing. But
Right.
sometimes it can, as a data analyst, you may be knowing of this term Simpson's paradox. Like data may flip, like the answers which you get from your quants data,
Can
that
you
will
like
not
explain
be.
that this Simpsons
Yeah,
paradox?
yes. Absolutely. So, I think in data analysis, well, it's very common. Whenever you try to aggregate something at a high level, you'll find that, oh, this is how, there is some kind of difference which is happening. Let's say, there is a difference in the wages of people who are working in Karnataka versus people who are working in Bihar. I'm taking example of Bihar because I'm
Right.
from Bihar. When you find that difference, maybe it's an aggregate level you have taken it, but when you take it like, hey, there is actually, like, when you drill down and try to let's divide the wages in terms of the workers, like if it's a skilled worker, there is a extreme difference between, Karnataka skilled workers versus Bihar skilled workers, then you'll find a difference there itself. But if you take into consideration, when you drill down, you'll find that, hey, if it's a non-skilled workers, they're actually getting the same. But initially, when you
Got it.
aggregate it at the high level, you find a view that, oh, there is there is a difference between Bihar wages, like workers' wages versus Karnataka workers' wages. But this is not the case. When you drill down, you find that no, the contribution is only coming from the skilled workers, but the rest of the workers like share the similar kind of wages, which is given by, like, maybe defined by the government, or due to government intervention or something. So I think that is um, that is one aspect of data which I think of. Qualitative way is very, very important when you are trying to solve a very ambiguous problem, like especially I would say social science problem, which involves a lot of conflicts. It involves a lot of
Right.
human subjects, and it involves so many things. But if I have to like club it together, then I can take one project of mine which I worked under Dr. Rimji Agrawal at ASU, and with a group of like 4 or 5 people, we were working on that project. I can take an example of that, where we in qualitative, what we do, one way of qualitative is taking a survey, or maybe you can do a focus group study of the people to understand, or like very quick way of collecting data also, but also
Yeah.
understand in a qualitative way that how basically you are taking what's basically whoever you are studying, your group of study is, how they are, what's their perspective is, what what they, whatever your focus group study is, or whatever your survey is all about. So these are called the, like, these are the qualitative side of it. The second thing is, which I found very interesting, is in the qualitative side, is like we build a model, right? Like right now, the machine learning models and all those has come up. But previous to
Right.
that, when it was just a statistical model, then you must be, then like how the variables, like right now we have a lot of this packages also, which talks about, okay, this features we need to run our model because these are the important features, or these are the
Right.
most significant features. However, when you are trying to solve a problem, let's say any of the system problem, what can you say, like maybe you want to understand that why there are so many car accidents that is happening in Karnataka, or something like that. Then
Got it.
what are the variables which you have to take into account? Then maybe you will list down your own variables based on some kind of literature review, which is already done. There are different kind of softwares which are also used, like DDoS and all those for qualitative uh, study, where you can list on those variables. And when you build the system, which is also in a system design, which is a qualitative way of finding out the variables, and then like coming up with the solution or the intervention, which we say. So that is something, I would say, is more powerful, because when we, like in that project, we started with this qualitative approach, and whatever
Okay.
intervention we came up with, like we had to do this education or whatever, it was very much similar to the qualitative method, which is also known as AHP, analytical hierarchy process, quite used in, I think, it's basically a criteria algorithm, where given a criteria, what choices, like, and given an alternative, so which one are you going to choose? And when you make that particular into the quantitative data and you have that numbers also, it was aligning with the qualitative approach, whatever we got, without the intervention in the number or any terms. So I think I must say that qualitative has a much more stronghold, because you talk with the people, but it also depends on your use case. Like in social science,
Yeah.
we cannot just simply rely with the data. If a government has to make a particular policy, then I think they need to also study the people. They need to do certain kind of, community engagement. They need to do some kind of literature review, that how it has been done in different worlds. However, due to ease of data, since it's easy to store, it's especially in the businesses, in the tech side, it's easy to now gather the data, because from an app you can gather the data, you can propagate your events, and then you can store
Hmm.
them easily, and then you can, based on that, you can make an informed decisions. But but I think, yeah, I would say I personally believe like mixed method approach, what I just give you an example of my project little bit, makes it a more holistic way, that you have the data as well, and you have your qualitative approach as well, which is, I would say, is much more strong, because it has a very much backed up literatures review which has already been done, or some kind of, a ground research, which we say, or in public policy, we used to say public service research that has been done. So I think that is, that I would say, will make a very balanced way of data study or data science, I whatever we say.
Interesting. So what was that software again that you mentioned that you use for qualitative analysis,
Oh, of
qualitative
course.
modeling?
Yeah, it's called DDoS. D double E
Okay.
D like D double E T double O S E, like that. That's how it is. So
Okay.
many of the researchers, they already use that. And like if you are reading any kind of literature review and you want to analyze like what is the sentiments around the fashion industry or something like that, you can very well use this software for your qualitative approach and get to know that okay, this is the sentiments. It's a quick way also to do so the same. And for surveys, we know we use different kind of survey tools. There are many for survey. It's provided like many tools are there. So that
Right.
is another way of gathering qualitative
Yeah,
data.
one simple use case that I can think for myself would be like in our company, we do a lot of different surveys at drop-off points where we ask user as
Yes.
to like while you were onboarding, what were the problems that you faced that you discontinued the onboarding, or let's say you onboarded on the app or on our product, but you didn't do that key action, you didn't buy the product that we wanted you to. So again, what happened? So we do have the normal markers, like we have the funnels and everything, but to understand deeper, we do create surveys. And as of now, like this type of analysis, I guess qualitative analysis would bring out new things, which I haven't seen being used in a lot of tech companies here. So that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, so I think in tech industry, I have not seen anyone using system modeling. It's called like, which is also qualitative approach of, gathering your variables, which will be your random variables, which affects your which forms a cause effect basically on the your outcome variable, whichever is your like
Right.
whenever we model, we have this dependent and independent variables, right? So, so how do you do that using system design? So there is a huge research which has been done on that as well,
Mhm.
like how to do this complex system design modeling, complex system designs and complex system design modeling. And for that also, like one tool which is very much used is Vensim.
Okay.
That is
How does it help?
so how it helps is that like when you draw in the Vensim, let's say that let's say if you want to understand that what affects the number of the deaths which is happening due to accidents in the Karnataka. So let's say one of the variables, like on the top high level you took, is that there is no enforcement, like compared to US or anything, there is no
Right.
enforcement as that. So when you map to that, like you draw an arrow there, and there is a something called you define a there is something called positive and negative loop. So what you do is that you mark that as negative because the lesser the
Okay.
enforcement, then higher the
Higher
rates,
likely
right?
to.
So yeah, so it's a negative relationship. So you mark that negative.
Got it.
So once you draw the entire system, basically you are drawing the system, what's happening in the system. You all of a sudden that software will tell you that okay, these are actually forming the closed loops, and whichever are forming the closed loops, those are basically the areas where you have to put much attention into. So you're building a system. It's called like CLD, closed loop diagram. How many errors you have those closed loops, you will get to know okay, these are the major variables which are causing the closed loop. I have to break that chain and then
Hmm.
intervene through in any one of them, and let's see how it's happening. And that intervention is nothing but then your experimentation starts, where you start doing experimentation.
Got it.
So
That's
yeah.
really interesting. So, jumping on to the skill set that
Yeah.
you have acquired over the years that has basically helped you crack these man plus companies. So, what are the, let's say, the top skill sets that a person who's a, let's say, a data analyst or trying to get into these type of roles should go after? And like you have already studied it on the go. So, what were the different things can a new person or a person who is entering into this can go after? Basically, where do we study? How do we study? What are the different projects that we need to do?
Yeah, that's a I think I'll just tell on based on my experience, because I think it's very, very fa vast right now in the like the kind of roles which we have, like every company is catering to and everything now. Um, so my skill set, I like I would say in such a way that so I mean one thing is I'll divide in two parts. One is analytical, and the other is the your basically technical one. So technical one, I think if you're a software engineer, anyone like I'm trying to get into the data scientist, it's gonna be easier on the technical side, in the technical role, where you need the, I mean, of course, you'll be having the skill for like SQL, to talk about then Python and PySpark. All those things are used tremendously by most of the organizations right now. So these are the three, I would say, uh,
So these are
skills
the
which
top
are
three one
majorly
should
used. Yes,
basically
yeah.
focus upon. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And in Python also like Python for data science. Because one is like a Python for data science, but it depends like many of like if you are applying for let's say machine learning engineer roles or machine learning like in more in the operation side, ops side, ML ops, which we say, or the applied science roles or research scientist roles and all, then yeah, cover both. I think Python plus the Python for data science and PySpark also in depth because maybe you'll be involved also into make since in all these roles require you to automate also or schedule the jobs or to run and all the things. So for that you may be requiring a little bit of in-depth knowledge about what is PySpark and like how to basically write the entire pipeline using PySpark or entire pipeline using Python, so forth. So I think that will be one thing. Um, the other skill set, I'll just move into the analytical side, and then I would also say about the mathematics side. So mathematics side, of course, like you need to know like a stats 101,
Hmm.
or for that, like I always refer this book, which is called Introduction to Econometrics, because I studied that only for my master's. That book is still I refer. It is like the book, like it's written by Stock and Watson.
Hmm.
That book gives you the basic of statistics, whichever is required in our day-to-day activities as a data scientist, even as a data analyst.
What are the
So,
major topics that it covers within
so the
econometrics?
yeah, so the major topic it covers is like the first and foremost, which everybody talks about, is like when you run an experiment. Also, it will be there. The testing, like t-test, f-test, chi-square test, everything. It talks about that. It also talks
Okay.
about like how do you sample from a population? How what are the different kind of sampling? That is also very much important. Then the third topic, which it talks very much in detail about like how do you build models? Like what is a omitted variable biases? What is a linear regression? Like that like basics of like you need to know linear regression and what are the assumptions of the linear regression. Why do we take those assumptions? We talk about p-value, but how p-value is calculated? What is a
Hmm.
t-test extensively in this book. And then the second part of this book also talks about if you're into finance and many of the product industries like focused industries or even any kind of industries where forecasting is used, they have spoken extensively about how forecasting is done. So,
Okay.
auto-regressive models and so forth. It has also spoken about experimentation design, a little bit about basically diff and diff model, which we say difference in differences model and how that is created. So all these are very, very basic things. I think that book is it will be very, very helpful for anyone. Let's say if somebody is software engineer and they are trying to get into data scientist role or data analyst role, this book will help them a lot to make that change. Or
Okay.
yeah, like yeah,
Introduction by econometrics by.
the Stock and Watson.
Okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
so that is the one. So
So
yeah.
basically, from the tech side, you need SQL, Python, PySpark, and from technical, from analytical and mathematical ability, you need to study all these concepts that you just talked about, and one can go the introduction to econometrics. Okay, anything else?
And I think analytical, I personally believe, comes from experience. Plus, if you do a lot of literature review or if you read different kind of
Mm-hmm.
papers in the product, like what happened in this product, what we say is that product sense also. So I definitely believe that first it comes from the experience, and second it is definitely from reading this different kind of papers and brainstorming within yourself, that like how different kind of products, you know uh, what you need to do, like, because as a data analyst we recommend also to the businesses, right? Like when I was a data
Right.
analyst, we used to recommend to the businesses that okay, this is what you have to do. Or even if we have done any experimentation or anything, like even if we have done any kind of modeling or research, we have to convince our businesses that this is the go forward and this is how we have to take an action. Let's introduce this feature or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
one thing I think is also needed is the product sense, that which will work or which will not work, so that it can help us to convince the businesses for the same. The other skill I think I still am working on, that is the communication skill to convince the businesses in the right manner. Because many
Right.
times you will say that okay, they have a different perspective about things, like okay, let's scrape this, let's do this, do that and all. But how can we convince them? So I think that communication is also the key. And also the last, but it still is the most important, since in data analysis we do a lot of work, it just gets lost in the notebooks, like Jupyter notebooks, Python and notebooks and all. The writing down in a storytelling manner, how can we tell the story
Mm-hmm.
out of the data which we have received? I think that is also a skill which I think any data analyst or business analyst or product analyst, they need to know. So yeah, I think that's the thing.
Yeah, that's one skill I think. So like everybody learns on the go since initially you are just working on your projects. You have a story in your mind, you know what you are
Yes,
doing, but by the time you basically communicate, you are only communicating the results to the
yes,
end
yes, yeah,
consumer.
yeah,
So that really comes in handy.
yeah.
So on the skill set part, I've got it. Okay, that what is the skill set that is required. Now, next, I want you to help me out with your overall interview experience and how does one prepare for these interviews. So, just walk me through how did you apply for the interview at all these man-plus companies? Was it cold emailing, referrals? What exactly works, right? And then move on to how was the your from first round to finally getting selected? What are the different things that are being asked in which set of interviews?
Yeah, sure, Nipun. So I think for the marketplace companies, um, I did not go through referral and all. I applied. I made
Okay.
my
Through
resume,
company
curate.
websites.
Yes, I curated the resumes, whatever their roles. And this time I was not looking for a job switch or something out of, like I need a job. That I was doing in 2019. When my father just told me that okay, enough of the research, now let's get into I was back in the US, that get a job also, because that time I think after I left the research, and that time I was doing a lot of, LinkedIn emails, trying to connect with the people. I had a template, and since I was a fresher, like for them, like in US market, that time I was doing all that, and that time applying even through referrals, through so many things. But this time, when I had the experience at Rapido and everything, and I was said, I was just like more on the side, I was switching because I needed to give some time to my kid. So that was my priority this time. So I was only looking for very selective kind of roles which I think I can fit in and I can contribute. I have
Got it.
gained the experience because now
Mm-hmm.
at this stage, this was my this was my thing. Like, okay, I just want to contribute now. Like learning will go on the floor, but more on like how can I contribute more. So I'll just give the like how to prepare for like over this years, like whatever I have failed, I will just say one thing, that never prepare traditional method, because the subjects and the if like all the topics are very very huge. So you need to find, if you can find any coach, or like nowadays, like everything is on the YouTube, Google, everywhere. If you can just curate it based on the role and the company, then that will be the best approach for interview process, like preparation of the interview. You can also ask your recruiter, especially in marketplace companies, they will tell you what will be the round consist of. But if they do not tell you, don't hesitate to ask them what will be the round consisting of. Um, and then prepare accordingly for that. So that is also important. For me, I in Mark Plus companies, whatever like three, four companies I had given interview and I went till the final round. But in all those companies, I did not apply through referral. It was all through their company websites. Like through that only I got the call. But I think I was lucky. It also depends a lot on luck, I think. So these are the two aspects, and the third one, like how what I prepared for this. I think I would say that most of the things I try to prepare from my masters. Like I try to brush up my knowledge when it comes to a statistics side, because that was my
Got it.
masters. Um, Plus, project side, whatever I listed in my resume, I had already worked on them.
Right.
Whether as I mentioned, right, like my final year project was that, the incentive for biodiversity, all of them, I listed that. Experimentation design was also the project which I did with Dr. Rimjim Agrawal, where we did kind of like focus group study and all. So it was so basically I in the resume whatever I wrote, I brushed up all those things very carefully. Although in Mark Plus companies they will not be asking you any questions based on your projects, but they will
Okay.
be like for an experienced one I'm talking about, but they will be asking questions based on your experience. Like let's say if I have worked on random forest algorithm, they are going to ask me on that. If I have worked on experimentation design and RCT based design, they are going to ask me on that. So
Got it.
like they will ask all those topics, and then maybe they will give you a separate questions, and then they will ask you like how are you going to what will be your approach. So it's more like that. That's my experience with all the marketplace companies whichever I have given. Like I think four such companies I have given, and then in all of them they ask the same way. And the other thing, like I would suggest, like if somebody is a fresher, I think they are going to ask them, since they do not have that experience, they're coming to the job market, they're definitely going
Right.
to ask them from their project. So I would highly recommend them to do one project in experiment side, like A/B testing, you say, or if A/B testing is not possible, at least do propensity score, or you can do synthetic control, something like that, or pre-post, anything, any of
Right.
those study you can do. Second is you can do modeling to start with a regression model. In regression itself, you have linear, non-linear. Try both, that what they actually are. The third is like you can try any of the binomial model, whether it's logit or probit, anything. The fourth is like you can try clustering. And with the clustering, you can try classification also. You can choose any of the algorithms. And in the classification, you can have decision tree, random forest, GMM, whatever like you're comfortable with as a data analyst, I think, or data scientist for a fresher. I think this is more than enough. And I think that from the project side, from the skill side, if I have to tell like how to prepare for that, I did practice SQL. I practiced 100 SQL questions. And
Mm-hmm.
from the Python side, since it was my day-to-day thing at Rapido, I was most of our work was in Python. I did not do much practice in the Python, although it was asked in few of the Mark Plus companies. Um, and I think it was good. Like that will be your mostly the tech side will be the first two rounds or something, and then you'll have
Got
a
it.
statistics round, then you'll have a product sense round, and then you're going to have maybe if depending on the role also, like if it's a role where you have to do a lot of machine learning models or something like that, maybe you'll be given a data science machine learning problem, kind of like a designer recommendation system or something like that.
Okay.
But if
Can you
you,
give me a few examples of the type of questions
yeah,
that you got in these first two rounds, and both from
um,
SQL, Python?
I don't remember per se like how that has been asked, but I can give you some examples from which I prepared. Like
Okay.
like one of the questions, which was asked, like I think it was Google. They asked like I don't remember the question per se, but when I was preparing for Google Product Sense, then I was
Mm-hmm.
preparing like how do you measure the success of YouTube? And it was asked actually, like luckily, I
Okay.
think it was similar to that which was asked, and not the same question. But I think something related with YouTube only it was asked. But I don't remember the questions per se. But yes, that was one thing. So that helped me, like that preparation. Second, it was, I think, something related with customer analytics. It was questions. So basically, I would say that for product sense, there were a list of such questions that how will you measure the um, health of like something which was like health of something. It was uh, health of some app or feature of Uber. Like that was the which
Okay.
I prepared for. And similar to that, it was asked in Uber interview also. Like and I must say that for all this kind of product sense questions, which needs to be answered in a very formatted way, but it is mostly when you apply for product data science roles.
Got it.
I would suggest anyone. There is a YouTube channel by Emma Deng. I just followed her. And there is
Okay.
another YouTube channel which is by, I think, Dan Lee is his name. Um,
Right. Yes.
Both of them are coaches in US, and
Mm-hmm.
they had a very good product sense questions curated for different companies. And I just I prepared, I think more than 100 such product sense company questions. And whenever I had an interview similar to that
Mm-hmm.
company, I'll just prepare for that. So I think this too really helped me on the product sense side. SQL side, I would say again, Danley has SQL questions, 100 set of questions that time it was. That really helped me, but it was also very similar to what I was doing in my job side also, so it was not a
Mm-hmm.
problem. Python side also, it was not a big thing. The other thing was the preparation for any data science problems, like this is XYZ company, and then in that company, like how will you decide you are developing a new model, and how will you decide that this model, like how are you going to build this model, what are the things which you are going to take into consideration. So it's so there are each steps that were defined, because these are very open-ended questions.
Right.
So each steps were defined by this two, Emma Ding and even by Dan Lee. Like first you
Mm-hmm.
have to ask the clarifying questions, and when you are clarified, then go ahead with that with the next stage. And so there were 4 5 steps of that. So I try
Just
to
like we do in
write,
case studies.
yeah, case study. So it's called a machine learning case study, I think, or something like that. So
Okay.
you will have this case study problems, and also few more companies ask you some probability questions also if you apply for some kind of this data analyst and all those roles.
Mm-hmm.
That also will be was I just prepared Bayes theorem for that, and the law of total probability, which we say. So I just prepared these two particular things for the probability, and yeah, I think that was it for from the preparation
So
side.
first two
Yes.
rounds are more analytical side, where you're being questioned on your technical aspects, and the further rounds are more around product sense, business sense, or whatever
Yes.
role
Yeah.
specific sense.
Role is
And
specific. Yes.
that's where not a lot of technical aspect sort of comes into the picture, but more around how you think about the problem, what are the different decisions
Yes.
that you are going to
Yeah.
take with this, what is your thought process. More.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So it was like
Got it,
that.
got it. That's really helpful.
Okay.
Uh,
Hope so.
Thanks a lot, Pallavi, for sharing all this information. I'm sure like
Yeah. Of
this has
course.
helped me a lot in general. I guess I learned a lot of new things today, specifically about the qualitative learning, and I'm sure I'll apply this in my current company as well for all the surveys that we are doing. So,
Okay.
yes,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Nipun. Of course, I hope this is helpful for other chairs and many of the people who are trying to look for Mark Plus companies or in general switching to data analyst roles or data scientist role. Hope this is helpful. And thanks, Nipun, for this opportunity.
thank you. Thanks, Pallavi, for coming.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.